The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello, I'm Carl Seidel, host of The People's View. The show is sponsored by the Nashua City Republican Committee, and if you like to attend our meetings, they're the second Thursday of every month at 6:30 at the Crown Plaza. And if you want to find out more about our organization, you can go to nashuagop.org to see our website and learn about the events that we have.
Welcome to The People's View.
Hello, and welcome to The People's View, and help me welcome Jeanie Forrester, who was senator and head of the Senate Finance Committee, and now head of the GOP for the state of New Hampshire. How do you like your new job?
I like it, Carl. It's great. Yeah.
Good.
It keeps me busy.
I'm sure it does. Every time I call you, you're someplace else.
Yeah.
And today you're, well, we'll have to get through our interview, and then you have to head all the way up to Plymouth.
Sure.
Well, that's,
Yep.
You're putting a lot of mileage.
Yes, yeah. I think I have about 215,000 miles on my car right now.
Wow.
Yeah. Been through 2 transmissions.
Well, oh, no kidding.
But I like my car.
Good. All right. Well, you must be able to drive all that miles. Anyway, what's the most important thing you're doing right now?
Well, I think the most important thing is we've got special elections ahead of us, and we've gone through 3. We have 5 on the horizon and a potential 4 more special elections.
It's a little bit more than normal,
It
isn't
is. I think it's historical.
Is it?
Yeah. And we've got some great candidates, and we're working through the process and making sure they get the tools they need and the information they need to run successful campaigns. So that, this morning I met with, I met with 2 candidates and talked about their races and how we could be of service to them. And, so we've been, there's been a lot of focus on that. Kind of in the broader scheme of things under the Republican State Committee, some of the things that I'm working on are putting kind of organizational structure into the GOP. And by that I mean, planning things out, making sure that we're ready to go into 2018 and be successful. We have started months ago a standing bylaws committee, and a standing platform committee. And we've got some really great dedicated volunteers who have stepped up and are serving on these committees through the summer when they could be doing, I would think, much more interesting things on their evenings in the summer than sitting in a room and figuring out bylaws and platform issues. But they are dedicated, and we're doing this now so that when we come up to our annual meeting or the convention, that everything has been formulated and communicated to state committee members so that they're prepared and educated on the issues and can vote with confidence or not vote.
Well, hopefully. I know sometimes it gets confusing with all the wording and everything, and people nitpicking on some little word. How do you interpret this sentence?
But it's hard, you've been to an annual meeting when somebody throws a bunch of information in front of you and you're
That's
even
right.
in the legislature, right? You like to be informed. You like to know about the subject before you vote on it, before you cast your vote. And at the state party, that's what we're trying to do, is make sure that our state committee members have the information they need and can vote with confidence on an issue.
Well, that was one of the problems with the budget.
Yeah. But we got through that,
Yeah.
and that took a lot of communication. I mean, at the end of the day, it is about communication.
And hopefully you get the attention of the right people, because there's always somebody that says, I didn't see this before, and it's been out there for 3 months or something like that.
Yeah, and you're always going to get that, but I think you'll always get that, but if you have enough people involved and communicating will reduce the number of people who are going to.
Well, I'm sure you're getting around, I know, to the local GOP committees.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's very helpful. I know when you come down to see us here in Nashua.
Yep. Last week I was at the Manchester City fundraiser. I didn't have a lot of time. I stopped in and said hello to a few folks, and then I headed off to the Pelham Republican Committee meeting to speak with them about the things that we're doing at the state party. So I try to get out there. A couple weeks ago, I was up in Coas County speaking to the Republicans up there. They had a wonderful crowd. They had like 20 people in the room. Very excited, enthusiastic. And that is, for me, the great thing, is that as I go around the state and talk to Republicans, whether it's a town committee that somebody's trying to start up or in a county committee, that Republicans are excited. They're excited that we have a popular governor, Republican governor in the corner office who's doing great things for the state. We're on the right track finally.
Good. Well,
it's a good place to be.
Let me invite you back when you get some of these things all fixed up.
Sure.
Because I think programs like ours, and there are several legislators that have these programs, is a good way of communicating with our voters out there.
Absolutely.
Because we should take advantage of it because it's free. Nothing else.
Yeah.
And I think we need to get our message out loud and clear and have a format where they can feel that they've been part of it.
Yep.
Working on that.
And that's one of the things that we're working on going into the fall is putting together some town halls all around the state. Well, the governor will be invited as well as the Senate president and the speaker to go out and talk with folks about what we've achieved in the first part of the session, really to talk about our successes, to talk about challenges, and really to talk about where we're headed into 2018, to lay the groundwork, lay the foundation for success in the next election cycle. And we need to get out on the road and talk with people.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And hopefully we get more people to know that we exist too, so that they can participate. Yep. What do you think is going to be the biggest problem for our governor and getting his whole administration together? Because I don't think he's finished getting his people in line.
Certainly not. I think, we just had that discussion this morning. What is the legislative agenda going to be in the next session? What are the challenges? And certainly what's happening, on a national level with the Affordable Care Act and Medicaid, that's going to impact the state. I feel pretty confident that our governor, along with the Republican leadership, will come up with a New Hampshire solution. We are New Hampshire Republicans. We, and having had firsthand experience of working with Senator Morse, I know that guy. He rolls up his sleeves and he gets to work and he finds a solution. He's very good at that. And again, working with him and the speaker, who's just as dedicated, and the governor, the three of them, working with our legislative body, will come up with some, I think, good solutions for New Hampshire.
Do you think that there's any chance of having just block grants as a solution, or is that?
Well, that's a great question. I think it was in my second campaign when I was running for state senate. I talked about that we should insist with the federal government that we get block grants and that we decide how to spend that money. I don't know. I think the governor has a good relationship with the folks at the White House. I think he's accomplished a lot, and I wouldn't rule that out, although some people say that would never happen. You don't know until you try. I mean, I talked about getting block grants for welfare money. When I was a town administrator, I know at the local level, we know best what works for our community, and rather than the federal government telling us how to spend that money, they should just tell us what we're going to get, give it to us, and let us figure out how to spend it. So
that wasn't discussed very much, though, on the federal level. Well,
block grants?
Yeah. And that's why I asked the question, because it's like somebody forgot about that, and yet there's several Republican governors who want that.
Yeah.
asked for.
Well, I'm guessing that it's not forgotten. It must just be below the
Below.
surface, and they're talking about it. But you're right. I haven't heard anything lately about it, but I'm sure it's not forgotten because it's a great idea.
Well, I hope that's what the governor is suggesting, is that he's working behind the scenes and getting something lined up and say, hey, this is our plan. All we
Yeah.
need is the dollars. Just give
Yeah.
it to us, and this is the way we'll use it.
Yeah. Well,
I think that is effective.
he's a smart guy. I'm confident that if anyone can figure it out for New Hampshire, he can do that.
He picked a couple of smart people, I think, in his choices of administrators.
Yep.
I know I've worked with both of them. I've had them on the show
Yep.
several times, and they're very sharp people.
And, he's made some really good choices with Commissioner Edelblue as our new Department of Education Commissioner, and of course, reducing business taxes, and of course, just recently, the $32 million back to the cities and towns for infrastructure improvements. A lot of good things. Kindergarten, full-day kindergarten, a lot of good things have happened. And we just need to get out there and talk about it so people who may not be aware of what's happening in Concord, because we do kind of live in a bubble.
All right.
We think, we're the center of the universe and everybody else knows what's going on, and that's not, that's just not true.
Right.
And we just need to be better at communicating that. And so that's one of the goals and the roles that I want to play as the state party chair, and the Republican State Committee is helping effectuate that. And when I took the job, I said, we are going to run this like a business, and we are in the business of getting Republicans elected to office. So.
Okay. Speaking along that lines, have you started your training programs yet for people who are running?
We actually, well, let me talk about a different kind of training. One of the things we instituted was our IGOP program, IGOP, an intern program for young people. And in fact, today when I left the office, we had 11 interns in the office. Yep. Our youngest, I think, is 15 years old. And,
Get 'em early.
and we've got this great program that was put together by Lauren Carney and Tara Senek and Carrie Marsh. And it really helps young people learn the ropes of what politics is all about, and how we teach them skills like how to write a campaign plan, how to knock on doors, how to write a press release. We've had great speakers come in and talk to them. They've done tours of, let's say, WMUR. They've gone to the State House and met with the governor, the Senate president, and speaker. So that's been a great program. Now, in terms of the question of training, back in the spring, we had a communication summit, and that communication summit was directed, the audience was activists, and anyone, quite honestly, who would be interested in attending to learn about communication. So social media, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, all those different modes of communication, and talking about the effectiveness of that. So we did that in the spring, and we did that at St. Anselm's College. We had Matt Boyle from Breitbart come as our keynote speaker. Governor Sununu was there, and he spoke a bit. In the fall this year, one of the things I talked about when I ran for state party chair was this idea of a red summit, make New Hampshire red again, right? And the acronym for RED it's RED. It's rebuild the Republican Party, energize the base, and deliver results in 2018. So in that plan, we talked about holding the RED Summit in the fall, and we are actively working on that now. And that will include some, leaders in the state, some Republican leaders. We've got some real experts in this state, speakers that will come and talk with, and the target is activists, it's elected officials, people are thinking about running for office, and party leaders. And so it's laying the groundwork for 2018, our preparation phase of going into 2018 to hold our majorities and grow our majorities and really work developing that plan about how we take back. I'd like to take back both those congressional seats. And we've got candidates who have announced and some who are still waiting in the wings to announce. But I feel pretty confident that we're gonna come out of primaries in CD1 and 2 with a good candidate who will be formidable for both the Democratic.
Good name recognition, because I know in the past we've had some good candidates, but they just didn't have the name recognition of the state.
Yep.
And so that you'll have classes starting then in the fall.
And we've got some other organizations who are also working on training as well. My assistant to recruiting, you probably know JP Marzullo, and he's in that process of looking at where we want to take seats, looking at who might not be running again, and really going out to recruit people. And then we will do the training about how to write, sort of the same thing that we've done with the interns, how to write a campaign plan, financing, all the things they need to do to run a successful campaign. Part of the idea of the interns, I should say as well, is that we've educated these young people, and if they have an interest in serving on a campaign, that we've got it's our workforce development, if you will. So that if anyone's looking for campaign staff, we've actually trained these young people about what it's like to work on a campaign and the skills they need. So,
some of these high schools, I know here in Nashua, do have student Republican and Democrat clubs.
Yep.
Have you communicated with them as far as that?
That's a great idea. I have not. I know Milford has one as well, but have not. So that's a really good idea. I'll have to talk to them.
Yeah, I don't know how active they were.
Yeah.
When I did try to work in there. In fact, I worked with one of the Democrats down here a couple of years ago, David Campbell, trying to work with both of the clubs. But it's conflicts, I guess, and we never really got the communication line opened up.
Yeah, it is so tough, and it takes persistence.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, it can kind of really go nowhere.
Right.
I think about when I was a Main Street director in Meredith. One of the challenges we had for our local, because we're a tourist economy, our restaurants or hotels, we couldn't get the kind of employees that they needed. And then we had these young people out of high school who didn't have the skills. Mm-hmm. And so we created this career partnership program to develop the skills that the local businesses need and feed that pipeline. But it wasn't easy. It took a lot of persistence on our part. And you had a dedicated person, me, as the director to keep pushing that through. But it took some work.
A while.
It did.
We have a new superintendent here in Nashua. Maybe I'll try again. I think that was part of the problem.
Exactly, and not that the superintendent was a problem,
No.
but exactly that, because I worked with the local businesses, the superintendent, the principal, the guidance counselor. Everybody has to be part of the conversation to really, if you're part of the conversation and part of the creation, you're going to have better success going forward. But it was just finding the right people, making the connections, and having the conversation continue.
So does your intern go all year?
No, actually, they're going to be finishing up this week, and we then start a fall internship program.
Oh, okay, so it's slightly different now. Okay, because I would think that even in some of these midterm elections and stuff, that there's place for them to see the nitty-gritty in getting elected and talking to people.
Yeah.
And that would be very helpful. I know here in Nashua it would be, but we don't have any of those this year right now. We may. Yeah. There's a couple of people that are, wavering, I should say.
Yeah.
So what else are you doing? I mean, when you spare time.
What else am I doing? Well, we talked about the IGOP program. We've got the Red Summit we're working on. Fundraising is always, a big issue. We are working on a messaging campaign for 2018. That takes an awful lot of time. It's amazing how the hours just fly by. Never, then you have, when I was a state senator, constituent service was my number one issue. And coming into this position, I feel the same way. We are there to serve our elected officials, to help them do their jobs, to help promote the good things that they're doing. And that can take a lot of time too. If somebody calls and they have a problem or a concern, you want to listen to them, you want to be available. And so I do a lot of that as well.
Well, that's pretty good. Yeah, I know we're having a fundraiser here in October. That'll be our normal stakeout.
Your stakeout, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it was postponed from August till October.
Yep.
So hopefully we'll have a good speaker there because of that.
And I've learned, if nothing, you learn to be flexible, because for any event to be a success, you want to have a good speaker. And so if the stakeout has moved, it's because you're still looking for your speaker, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
And we're going to, while we don't endorse anybody, we're going to be helping some of the candidates for local office by doing these kind of interviews,
Yes.
so that the people get to see somebody who's really running. It's not just a name in the newspaper.
Yep.
So that's one of the things that I think needs to be done.
Yeah. In fact, we talked about you today when I was meeting with the candidates. This is an excellent venue, and candidates, if it's appropriate, if it's in their area, they should think about giving you a call and getting on your show, because it really does help get the message out and get people who watch your show aware of the candidates. It's important.
And if they have a website, they can just take this interview and put it on their website, which several people have done.
That's a great idea.
In fact, well, one of the things I did when I really started, because this communication worked fairly well for a while, we actually had forums where we had 4 Republicans and 4 Democrats that were running for offices. And
Did that on TV?
we did that on
Nice.
TV. We had that at the high school auditorium or something like that.
Then you play it on TV so people could watch it in the comfort of their own home, right?
Yeah, they could do that. The only problem is we can't get the opposition to do that anymore.
Oh, no.
They
Really?
don't want to participate.
Well, that's unfortunate.
That's what I call it too. But,
Well, we are pretty successful Republicans. I could see why no one would want to go up against us, right?
Well, yeah. I guess I won't get too partisan right now.
Okay.
But in any case, I think that's a key to any of this. I've always believed that government should be informative to the people, and people should be asking the questions in a reasonable way and listening for answers and understanding the answers, or ask more questions.
Yep.
And I don't see enough of that. The letters to the editor don't do it. I don't think. It brings a highlight out, but it's not a back and forth.
No, it certainly isn't. Letters to the editor, I think, can be effective.
Yeah.
But you're right, it doesn't show the back and forth, the conversation where people get to listen, to the candidates, talk about their views on different things. Right.
One of the things that's supposedly going to be an issue here for locally is the mayor wants to re-energize the railroad committee.
Oh.
And he's putting together a committee to do that.
Okay.
Now, I've talked to him about it because, I don't know if you recall, I guess it's been 10 or 12 years. That's when they had it all set up to bring the railroad up to the border of New Hampshire.
Okay.
And the problem was, all of a sudden, they decided not just the border, Montreal or Concord. I mean, that's what they talked about. And so every year there was something else that was larger and, different. And so they got defeated all the time. What I still think that we can bring something up to have Massachusetts pay for it up to the border. we could develop a transportation center down near Pheasant Lane between Massachusetts and New Hampshire. There's areas there where we could store the trains, which they were worried about. Then start bus communications, buses to the work areas, buses to the airport, buses to communities, because we do have one now going out to Milford, where there's a big work area. I think that will help, but we have to also get the Route 3 exit south down there so that we can get people off that are coming from upstate into the communication area down there.
Are you on this commission?
It hasn't been formed yet. It hasn't even been okayed yet. But
sounds like you should be on it.
well, I'm trying to be on it.
Okay.
Okay. Because there's two. We have two Nashua representatives, myself and another one, a Democrat from Ward 9, and everybody wants to vote for everything all at once. And I think you have to prove yourself a little bit. And this is what I think you can do at a reasonable level.
In baby steps, I think, right?
And then you can get a lot of out, and you can help people. I think it helped people here who don't have cars or two cars, to communicate to work. By having a bus go to that new big area up by the airport. There's 5 areas within the circle of around Nashua and even Hudson that people could communicate with, go to work. But that's something that we have to try to build on.
Sounds like you have it all figured out.
Well, I've talked to them, but I don't know. They have some good ideas too, and they have some good, sharp people working for them. But I'm hoping he's not stuck on getting all the way to the airport, because he's not going to get that. It's not going to sell, but I think he can sell it to the border if we can get Massachusetts to agree. And there is money out there for interstate communication, projects. We'll see. We'll have you back, and when you're ready with your report, in the fall,
Okay.
I'll have you back again.
I'd like that. It's always a pleasure to be on, Carl.
Okay, well, let me know.
Okay.
On a time.
Good.
Thank you very much, and I
Thanks.
appreciate you coming
Thank you.
down.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.